Is Julio any good as a unit, and should you run him? These are the two questions we will be answering in this video. So to begin, we will open up Julio's kit. So let's pull up this Katana Boy's abilities. All right, so what does Julio want to do? Who is he? Where is he? All right, so he's an advisor. That's his class title. Essentially, he's a support unit that can kind of chip in for damage and debuff enemies by removing TP from them. So if you look at his abilities, you can see here Moment of Truth. This is one of his abilities you'll be spamming every turn. Give an ally a TP. You can get this down to 1 TP cost, so he basically just transfers a TP. Raise their strength and magic for 3 turns. So increase a dude's damage, give them a TP. So he is a battery. He just fuels other units. He can make it so that a single mage can always cast extra spells. Like they can always cast a spell every turn. And he can also boost their damage. So this is extremely useful in of itself. Next we have Not on My Watch. This is higher damage attack. You cannot reduce the TP cost. It always costs 2 TP. This will deal damage to a single target and decrease their TP by 1. So this is good against enemies that have big AoE attacks that require TP. This is good at shutting down enemy mages. If they're at 0 TP, they can't cast spells because they need at least 2 for most spells. So this is really useful in that case. And it's also good for comboing with another unit like Milo to just remove TP from a boss so it can't do any huge impact things. So this is a really useful ability. Next we have KO TP+. So if he last hits an enemy, meaning that if he deals lethal damage to it, he will get 1 TP back. So this is actually very useful. He can hit decently hard if you look at his strength without any strength boosters at level 50. It's 52 strength. So that's pretty good. His accuracy is quite high too. 60 is decent. He has okay evasion. His speed is decent as well. But his accuracy and strength are quite good. So he can deal some chip damage to help you kill things. Next we have Finish Them. This is a long-ranged TP transfer. Costs 3 TP to give an ally 2. So this is pretty good as well. Next you have TP Barrier. I actually just tested this. This is actually a really good skill. It reduces all damage taken, including spell damage, 5% per TP. So if he has 5 TP, he has a 25% damage reduction. When he is at 0 TP, he just takes normal damage. So if you keep his TP high, he can be very tanky. 25% damage reduction with 50 physical defense and 48 magical defense is quite good. He actually is quite tanky. I looked at the numbers. A spell that hit for 234 ended up hitting for 176 when he had 5 TP. So keeping his TP high while he's boosting, being a battery, is really useful. With Medina on the board, between the two of them, they can just spam each other and spam other units. And Medina can help keep his TP up. But unlike Medina, he can give an ally up to 5 TP, which is pretty crazy. So TP Barrier is good. It's a passive. Best Regards. This ability can be really good against tanks that have low magic defense because it does magic damage, and it also has higher base damage, but against enemies with higher magical defense, Not on My Watch is a bigger spike. So he has 2 spikes that can deal with either tanky magical units, units that are tanky versus magic, or units that are tanky versus physical, and he can essentially hit their weakness. So pretty useful. It's decent damage, a little bit higher than his base, and it'll hit really hard against shield users, so it's pretty good actually. Next we have Inheritor. This is amazing. So you just transfer however much TP you have, and it does have 2 range, so it can be used a little far away. Not too far, but within, he can run up and then give up to 5 TP to an ally, which is crazy. So in some cases it's better to use Finish Them. So if you have 5 TP and you just want to transfer 2 or 3, you're better off using Finish Them for 3, so you save 2 TP. And then you give to an ally, because if an ally is at 3 TP or 2 TP, giving them 5 doesn't make sense because the max is 5 anyways, so you'd just be wasting it. So Finish Them would be better in that case, or if they're close enough, Moment of Truth. And then finally we have Intimidation. This is his hardest hitting physical attack. It hits around him so it can hit up to 8 units total. It hits all enemies that are within a tile of him, basically. So like left, right, up, down, and then all the diagonals. It hits in like a box shape. Just deals good damage and lowers all enemies' TP hit. It costs 4 TP to use this, so it's not the best ability. It's okay. I mean, it can be okay for some AoE chip damage, but it's whatever. His best abilities are Inheritor, Moment of Truth, and then like Best Regards and stuff like that. Alright, so I'm just running like a speed bracelet on him. He just has like whatever items, because he just contributes to chip damage and mostly just is a battery, so you plug him in and he just powers your other units. Alright, let's look at his upgrades. So it's pretty important for units. I think I have him maxed out, maybe? No, I'm missing one thing. Okay, so we have damage plus 5. This is good because he can help kill things. And you can just, even if he doesn't help kill things, what you can do with him is just keep not on my, or Moment of Truthing your allies, and then position him next to enemies so that he just triggers follow-up attacks. So your actual damage units can smack the enemy in question, and he'll just contribute through like passive follow-ups. So that can be useful as well. So you want damage. Health is good. Him being durable is good. He's kind of tanky, and with TP barrier, he can be very tanky. So getting health on him is decent. Physical defense is good. You want that. Accuracy, you don't need to get this. His accuracy is already quite high, but if you have the resources, you might as well. Same thing with luck. You don't really need this. This isn't really super useful. These two, you can skip completely. Plus 5 damage on tier 2, really good. You want it. More health, that's good. Magic defense plus 1, I mean, you can get it if you want to. It's not critically useful. You don't need either of these defense ones, to be honest. Speed plus 1, you always want to get this on units you run in general. Speed is always good. You can't go wrong getting it, even if it's just 1 speed. And then here is his best ability to unlock. Decreased TP cost of Moment of Truth by 1. This is essential for his kit. It makes it so that he can constantly fuel other units every single turn, even when he's drained to 0 TP, because you generate 1 per turn. So, and you also give things a strength and magic damage boost. So both of, like, for those 2 reasons, like, it just makes your team more aggressive and more damaging. It's very good. He can maintain a damage boost on 3 allies, so keep that in mind too. So if you have like 2 mages and an archer, he can constantly buff them and make them deal more damage and give them TP. So very useful. Weapon damage up 2 for his rank 3, plus 10 damage. So plus 20 damage total. It's pretty good. You might as well get it. He can smack things. He can do follow-ups. And then finally we have Intimidation. I recommend not getting this. Because if you're using him to fuel like Frederica or like Corentin or some big AoE unit or even like Roland or something, this isn't really useful. I mean, it can be useful in a pinch if he has TP to just like AoE something, but 4 TP for like, you know, a little damage, it's like maybe it does like 20% of enemies max HP to basic enemies, and it'll hit like, I don't know, 2 or 3 depending on their formation. It's unlikely to hit like 6 or something, because if that were the case, that means your back lines are getting overrun. You can kind of use him on the front lines because of his TP barrier tanking, but there's things that are better at doing that role. Like Eridor can just aggro things and fury things, and that's much better. So I would skip Intimidation. Okay, so let's go over in a quick mock battle where he like shines. So let's just go to this one, because this with Giulio, it's not like intricate or advanced. He basically just does like 2 things, and he doesn't have mobility. So let's get him in. Let's just put him with Corentin, or actually let's do Azana, because she doesn't have TP management. So all right, so positionally he'll be in the medium, like the mid-line, I guess, like the in between the back and the front lines. He's kind of like a mid-liner, if that's a term, we'll make it one. So he can be in the fray to some degree. He doesn't want to be super extended because he can't escape, but he can be in between your squishies and the enemy. So he's a good bodyguard, and he definitely can help combo things down and kill things last minute because his damage is okay. It's not good, but it's decent. It's not like gonna carry, but if you combine it with, if you have him and Benedict whack a thing, and they both do a combo attack backstab like that, and they both trigger each other's follow-up attacks. That can be good damage, and between the two of them, they can get a thing down to like 20% health. So they're pretty good at like whacking things. But okay, so here is what he does mostly. He just does this. He just goes up to a unit, moment of truth, have a TP, and a damage boost. In this case, Azana doesn't have AoE, but I just wanted to like showcase like the overall idea. Then she nukes something. Cool. Obviously, these are low level enemies that you will easily kill. This is just for demonstration purposes and to kind of go over where he wants to be. And I'll like show his other abilities. So here is the difference between finish them. This has a further range and gives 2. So it costs 3 and gives 2. And then Inheritor will give whatever amounts you have. So in this case, it's 3. So it's always a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have 1, it'll give 1. So if you just have 1, you're better off using Moment of Truth, unless you want to use it at range. So you can Inheritor at this range. Whereas Moment of Truth is you have to be right next to them. If you want to give them 2, it'll cost 2, and so on. So I can give her... See, this is an example of it being redundant. Like, she doesn't need 5 TP. Like, if you put her at 4... and then she'll regen 1, then she'll be at max anyways. So in this case, you would just use like Moment of Truth if you wanted to. And then here's an example of him just like attacking something. So like an enemy is approaching a backliner, you can do something like this. Smack it in the back, get a crit, get a KO TP if it's low enough to kill. And that makes him a more effective battery too. So then now she can cast on something. And then like kite, and then he's like her bodyguard that feeds her and tries to protect her as best he can. Now, he doesn't have status effects in Fury, but between good positioning, the battery, your other units, he adds a lot to the battlefield. So I'm going to show his like ult. Let's refer to these as ult. So this is the range of it. It also hits around you, like completely. So you can see here. So, but in this case, if I want to hit as many enemies as I can, so here's what it looks like. So it does some decent damage. It's his hardest hitting attack. He can trigger KO TP. It only triggers once per, like if an enemy is killed, it just triggers. If you kill 3 enemies, it doesn't matter. As long as, like as soon as an enemy is killed, it doesn't trigger more than once. So it just lumps it all together, is the point. So you can see here Azana can easily cast a spell every turn, just because she's constantly being fed. And then in this case, this will put her at 1, and then she'll regen another one, and she'll be able to cast again. Alternatively, if I really needed her to like do something huge, I could give her just all 3. But keeping in mind that every TP is also a point of damage reduction for him, you can kind of, play around that depending on if you need him to be tankier or not. And then, yeah. So like his abilities are very simple. So let's go over his attacks. Let's actually just pass. Or no, we can do this. We can we can battle cry just to give him TP to show his abilities. Okay, so basic attack, in this case 233 damage, physical damage. Not on my watch. 291 physical damage, reduces enemies TP. You can see there it's going to remove a TP. Best regards, 271 non-elemental magic damage. So it does more. It generally does more than the longsword, unless they're magic tank. Then it'll be damage reduced. So the number will be higher before you attack, but after you attack, it'll be damage reduced if they're tanky to magic. If you use best regards, and then intimidation is just physical damage as well. So he has enough tools to contribute to damage to some degree when needed, and to act as like a bodyguard to like kill things really quick or like combo with other units. Like him and Serenoa are quite good at holding down like a thing. Like Serenoa can put shield stance or whatever on like a squishy unit, and then Giulio and Serenoa, like you can get like hawk dive combos off with like best regards and not on my watch and stuff like that. So he can help act as like a bodyguard, and he is good in this way. And you can run him with Medina. I can kind of go over the differences between them, like why you'd want to run Julio instead of Medina. So on a small map where Medina is at risk of getting surrounded and attacked, she is way less tanky than he is. So he's a safer option. He's also cheap. So if you want to save money in the game. Like if you're on your first playthrough, Medina will force you to grind for cash because like your resources are terrible on your first playthrough. They get much better in New Game Plus and even better in New Game Plus Plus. But you're going to have to grind if you want to run Medina. And Julio's just free. He can't heal really. Like she just spams items, so I guess he could use an item. But the reason you run her is her healing items also restore TP. So he's tankier, has better damage output, has the ability to remove TP from enemies and restore TP to allies, and also give them damage boost. While Medina has worse damage, way better TP generation, and healing. So like a lot of people compare them, but I think their roles are a little different. He's kind of like an off-tank utility, and she's like an off-healer utility, where she's like a kind of healer thing that's expensive to use. So that's like my opinion of the two. I run both of them. I think they're both good. Sometimes like they allow you to split your forces into two groups for like flanks and stuff like that. If you want to do that, you don't have to obviously, but she also has utility where you can now someone for 2 TP. But Giulio is a good unit, I would say. He's really solid. He's surprisingly durable, and with a 25% damage reduction when he's at full like 5 TP maxed out, is like he's extremely tanky when he has a 25% damage reduction. So he can take like 4 hits, like 3 to 4 hits from an enemy, which in hard mode is very good. And he's not even supposed to be a tank, so he's kind of like an off-tank battery type thing that can also contribute to damage. So for those reasons, I would say he is worth running. And Medina is obviously expensive to use because let's look at the items she likes to spam, just to kind of like clarify what I mean by she's expensive. Oops, wrong dude. Let's talk to our boy, Lionel. So Medina likes to spam this and this. And if you look at these items, 750 for one, 1.5k for the other. So this one has terrible healing, but it just spam. It can restore up to 5 TP per use if people are in a plus. If you have enough units, it can hit up to 5 units in a plus shape. And then this one, same shape, but it actually heals for a lot. So if you have a bunch of damaged units, she can just spam 2 of these. But they're 1.5k per. So unless you're grinding or on New Game Plus, your first playthrough, this isn't going to be the best. So Gila and like Narv are just cheaper to run. So if you want to not run Medina because she's expensive for your first playthrough, I think that's like a legitimate problem with her kit. But she's blatantly overpowered when you have the economy for her. So yeah, that's pretty much the difference between the two. Medina's damage is okay. Giulio's damage is much better, and he has the ability to smack with magic and also to smack with physical. So he can kind of like, hit an enemy's weakness, and if their magical and physical defense are the same, then he can just use whichever attack hits the hardest, and also drain TP. So I think they're different roles. They're both batteries, but one is like a utility healer support, and the other one's like a tank damage support. So yeah, that's what Julio is. He's a tank. He's an off-tank damage support, and he's pretty good at it. Like, he's a really solid unit. And like, I've never run him and been like, wow, Julio sucks. Like, he's always useful. He's always good. He keeps your mages topped off with TP. He's just a really good unit. So yeah, if you like these types of videos, definitely like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a ton more triangle strategy videos like this. I'll probably do some in-depth like tactics videos and like team comp videos. There's some common things that people know. Like right now, Medina's like probably needs nerfed, and same thing with like Time Child. Like Time Child is so blatantly overpowered. He's definitely the best unit in the game because of all the nonsense he can do. Like he basically breaks the game. So I don't know why Time Child is in the game, but he's so blatantly overpowered that he needs nerfed. Like what I would do with him is, I'll go over that in a different video, but I would nerf his time stop ability to start and make it so that it only can affect like 2 or 3 enemy units for like 2 turns, and just make it have 100% hit rate, because currently it freezes everyone, and that's insane. But yeah, definitely like and comment. Let me know how you use Julio, or where you think he is in like the meta game, if he's even worth running or not, or what your opinions on him are. I think he's really good. This is my 3rd hard playthrough, and I'm like almost halfway through it. So this is a New Game Plus Plus, And he's been good throughout the entire time, like for the first and second playthrough, and I think he's a solid unit. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking this out, and peace.